Hello, I'm Nafisa Latic, and this is Across the Balkans. In the wake of Russia's attack on Ukraine, most countries in the Balkans have been gradually increasing their military budgets, especially the states that are still not a part of NATO. And while new players like Russia and China are signing defense deals in the region, the US remains the biggest source of military hardware for the Balkans. One of NATO's poorest and smallest members, North Macedonia, plans to strengthen its defense in the wake of Russia's attack on Ukraine. Skopje has announced it's set to buy an air defense system from France, which it expects to receive next year. The first purchase of its kind in 20 years. Many believe that North Macedonia is looking to send a message due to fears the conflict in Ukraine could spill into the Balkans. Balkans Laci went to Skopje to find out if the claims were right.
North Macedonia is set to buy air defense system from France worth nearly $65 million to be paid over the next 4 years. The defense ministry says that is unrelated to the events in Ukraine, although its last purchase of this kind was made 20 years ago. But Deputy Defense Minister Bashkim Hassani assures me that replacing the air defense system has been a long time in the making. He says it's to adopt the country to NATO standards and that North Macedonia is under no threat of being attacked, despite siding with the EU in sanctioning Russia.
Ne jemi vend I sigurt, meqense jemi edhe antar I NATO-s, a ka vend për frikë, përgjigjja është jo, nuk ka vend për frikë. Ne nuk jemi në konflikt me asnjë shtet botës, por as që edhe kërkojmë konflikt me ndonjë nga shtetet e botës. Mirë po, së bashku me aleatët bëjmë gjithçka për të parandaluar eskalimin në çdo vend tjetër I cili është antar I NATO-s dhe jemi të vendosur që të garantojmë sigurinë e çdo pllombe, çdo territori të vendeve të NATO-s. Përndryshe nuk jemi të rrezikuar apo kërcënuar nga asnjë vend. Por megjithatë duhet të jemi të kujdesshëm dhe të përgatitur.
North Macedonia might not fear attacks on and of itself, but what it does fear is Russia's attempt at political interference. Since the start of Russia's attack on Ukraine, Skopje has expelled 11 diplomats from the Russian embassy, accusing them of violating the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. President Stevo Pendarovsky has recently blamed Russia for launching hybrid attacks in 2018 to undermine the referendum on the name change, which was key to North Macedonia's NATO membership. He also said that Moscow is trying to undermine the country's agreement with Bulgaria to start negotiations with the EU, while the Foreign Affairs Minister, Bujar Osmani, has accused Russia of spending money in North Macedonia to influence politics. In the parliament, I met MP Kastriot Recepi. In dramatic developments months ago, he spoiled the opposition plans to form a new parliamentary majority after securing the signatures of 61 out of 120 MPs. He says Western diplomats advised him not to vote as the new parliamentary majority had elements that openly supported Russia's policies and were against Western integration.
Disa prej partive politike ta zyrtarisht ndoshta nuk deklarohen, mirë po e shpjen ujin në mullirin e Rusisë. A mos harrojmë edhe në koalicionin e VMRO-s kemi një partner koalicioni ku është e përfaqësuar me deputetin Stojlković, I cili ka qenë është një nga të rallët që ka qenë prezent në kongresin e partisë të Putinit para vitesh. Kështu që jam I bindur se me një marrje në pushtetit nga ana e tyre do të shpenjen vazhdimisht, do të punojnë edhe pse deklarativisht thonë që janë në Unionin Evropian, këndej do të punojnë që të mbetet Maqedonia jashtë atij organizmi për shkak se Rusia do të ketë ndikimin në rajon.
The main opposition party, Vamarod Dopamane, says it's unfairly labeled as anti-EU and anti-NATO. Its Vice President Alexander Nikolovsky tells me that they oppose the agreement with Bulgaria and insist on a referendum to annul it, because it will harm their national identity and language, and that it has nothing to do with EU integration.
Во Македонија главните политички партии, мислам тука и на СДСМ, и на ВМРО-ДПМН, и на ДУИ, и на БЕСЕ, и на Алијанса на албанците, тоа се 5 посериозни политички партии, сите се за членство на Македонија во НАТО и Европската Унија и не постои никаква разлика во однос на овие политички партии и држава со најмало или никакво руско влијание во целиот регион е Македонија. Да речеме, руското влијание е многу посилно во Бугарија или во Грција, во регионот, отколку што е во Македонија. И второ, кога не знаат што да кажат, се вадат за некакво руско влијание без да извадат било какви докази. Доколку министерот за надворешни, кој што е една многу сериозна функција, има докази, треба да ги презентира во јавноста или да престане да зборува глупости. Тоа е едно. И второ, кога не знаат како да украдат, се вадат на руски влијанија. Например, сакаат да крадат и да прават криминал при изградба на автопати, па не знаат како да кажат во јавноста дека сакаат да го наместат тендерот за надзор, за да им подпишува и што треба и што не треба, и велат не го дадовме на таа и таа фирма затоа што има руско влијание таму.
North Macedonia has been a target of many hybrid attacks, especially as the country tries to decide its future. One method of attack has been spreading propaganda and misinformation in order to sway the public opinion.
Руските хибридни напади во Северна Македонија се гледаат и на други места. Пред се тоа е и црквата. Црквата е под силно влијание, барем поголем дел од свештенството е под силно влијание на руската црква, која пак работи во силна спрега со режимот на Путин. Понатаму, тоа се гледа и преку во финансискиот дел, во економскиот дел. Руски фирми, олигарси и други ентитети се присутни во Северна Македонија и тие преку своите економски влијанија успеваат на најразличен начин да влијаат на политиките и практиките во земјата. Пропагандата не секогаш оној видливиот дел, таа работи на различни други начини, се инфилтрира во медиумите, во социјалните мрежи, во граѓанското општество и се разбира во низа други сегменти, а се разбира и во институциите.
To open negotiations with the EU, North Macedonia will have to change the constitution and make the Bulgarian minority an integral part of it. But lacking the 80 deputies needed to vote in parliament, with Russia trying the divisions to prevent its EU membership, the country for now seems to be at a dead end and finding a way out might first require clearing the air of disinformation. Bekim Laci, TRT World, Skopje, North Macedonia.
Let's cross to Belgrade, where Vlade Radulovic joins us now. He is a military analyst and the president of the Center for Geostrategic Research and Terrorism. Great to have you with us, Vlade.
Thank you for this call and greetings from Belgrade.
Now, as we just heard there in Bekim's story, North Macedonia is set to buy such an expensive defense system from France. Why would one of the poorest NATO countries, in a time of economic crisis, go and buy this expensive piece of equipment?
Actually, it's a very interesting question, but first of all, honestly, I usually like to say, if we are speaking about the ex-Yugoslavia country, I mean about this region, I usually like to say that actually we have, let's say, the Yugoslavia heritage, if we are speaking about the weapons, about the combat system, etc. So even, as you said, even it's the small country or the poor country, I mean on the military budget or modest budget, actually it's time to buy some new equipment. And honestly, if you ask me, I wouldn't make much of connections between the current situation, between the Russian aggression on Ukraine and the momentum when North Macedonia made a decision to buy this system. So first of all, also I would like to mention another thing. Actually, in this moment, even we don't have any kind of official information about which kind of system will be in North Macedonia. Probably we are speaking about the short-range system from France. So it's from my perspective, it's important step for the air defense for North Macedonia, but it's not, let's say, it's not capital or crucial step forward. If you are speaking, for example, if you are looking from the perspective of, let's say, a medium to long range system. I mean, this period actually means that it's my point of view that you have to think about your armed forces. You have to think about the capabilities and capacities.
And Vlade, how significant is for all NATO countries to prepare in case of escalation of the war in Ukraine?
It's very important or of significance, of course, especially if you take a look on that area. I mean, the North Macedonia and the neighbors countries such as Bulgaria and Albania. Why? Because it's, let's say, it's some kind of homogeneous entity or let's say some space of NATO countries between Adriatic Sea and the Black Sea. It's very important for NATO for deployment of troops or techniques, military equipment. And I will be free to say that how is it important that you can see actually on military exercise Defender Europe, especially this the upcoming year or 2023. So it's very important to have the compact area for rapid deployment, the troops or equipment for your, let's say, eastern members, and especially in this, let's say, these times when you have a situation with the escalation in possible escalation.
Still other countries in the Western Balkans who are not NATO members, like Serbia, your country, are also looking to increase their defense capabilities. President Vučić said this several times, and he also said he wants to buy Bayraktars from Turkey. Bearing in mind the recent tensions in the region, how dangerous is this move?
It's interesting. I mean, there is a couple of different views on that issue. From my perspective, I would like to say that actually Republic of Serbia, we are in process of modernization of our armed forces. And the first concrete step was in the half of 2016, when we received the first 2 helicopters from Russian Federation, Mi-17 V5. So after that, we bought a lot of many systems from Russia, from France, so from Western Europe, but also from China. And last idea is, I mean, it's not but idea in this moment is to buy also Bayraktar from Turkey. From my perspective, and as I said, let's say some kind of the same destiny of all ex-Yugoslavia countries, that we have old weapon system, especially that complex system, and it is necessary to renew and modernize your armed forces. Some of neighbor countries usually they will say, okay, it's some kind of arm race or something like that. But from my perspective, we are just speaking about the process of modernization without any kind of ambition.
Vlade, you know, after the war in Ukraine started, after Russia attacked Ukraine, many were mentioning Western Balkans as the next possible hotspot. How did the war, another war in Europe, change the way the countries in the Balkans, NATO and non-NATO members, and their approach towards military capabilities? How did they change their approach to defense strategies in the wake of the war?
Well, I mean, it depends for every of countries in this region. First of all, as you said previously, you have NATO member countries such as North Macedonia or Albania, for example, or Montenegro. But also you have Bosnia and Herzegovina or Republika Serbia, or of course for some countries Kosovo. In our case, it's Kosovo and Metohija. You have that countries as, let's say, non-NATO countries. this situation in Ukraine is, for me personally, is, let's say, like red alert or red light in this region, and it's not possible to make some clear picture of what can happen in the upcoming times, the upcoming period. But honestly, from my perspective, and regarding the information and regarding some statements, I'm pretty sure that actually we are trying authorities in general, we are trying to find some kind of space for compromise or for dialogue or something. Of course, I completely agree that we have unfortunately, we have some tensions between Pristina and Belgrade, and actually Kosovo and Metohija and Republika Srpska. Actually, it seems that there are two critical points in this moment on the Balkans and in all Europe, except Ukraine. But of course, you have KFOR on Kosovo and Metohija, you have EU mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So from that perspective, I'm pretty sure that it's not so easy to, let's say, to see some escalation of the situation.
Vlade Radulović, thank you for being our guest on Across the Balkans.
Thank you for your company.
It's time to look at some other stories making headlines in the region. The Bosnian Election Commission has decided to recount votes in the Serb entity. The decision came after a block of opposition parties filed complaints alleging the ballot was rigged. Thousands of people in Bosnia's Serb entity have protested against the results of the recent presidential election. They say the vote was stolen in favor of Milorad Dodik. Opposition parties in Republika Srpska say their candidate Jelena Trivić defeated longtime leader Dodik, who declared victory and denied the fraud allegations. The EU's latest ban on the transport of Russian oil across its territory has sparked tensions between Serbia and Croatia. That embargo is now also set to include Western Balkan countries, and Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić says it was initiated by Croatia. Under an agreement signed earlier this year, Croatia has been delivering Russian crude oil through its pipeline to Serbia. But with the latest sanctions, this might come to an end. The European Commission has postponed its decision on whether to exempt the Western Balkan countries from the ban to December. And Montenegro has launched an investigation into a number of people suspected of espionage and running a criminal organization. Local media say 6 Russian diplomats, 30 Russian nationals with temporary residence permits, and 2 Montenegrins have already been detained. Outgoing Prime Minister Dvitan Abazović says an international operation with foreign partners is underway to preserve Montenegro's interests. Last month, he also said the country was under negative influence from Russia and China, adding that the US can counter that pressure. Staying in Montenegro, the country is famous for its islands and sandy beaches, which is attracting a growing number of tourists. But now that shoreline is vanishing, mostly due to coastal erosion and construction. Experts say Ada Bojana Island is shrinking visibly, and the measures taken by the government have so far been insufficient. The island is also regarded as vital for Europe's biodiversity. It's home to many protected species of plants and animals. But biologists warn that if no action is taken, the island will be gone in around 50 years. Mirjana Miladinović went to Ada Bojana, the treasure of the Montenegrin coast, to see the situation for herself.
Ivo grew up on the banks of Bojana, a river that forks out into Albania and here, Montenegro. Between them is the island, Ada Bojana, a treasure of the Montenegrin coast that is now in danger. He remembers a time when the river and the island looked a lot different.
Neka procjena moja da 70% ljudi više voli Bojanu sada ovako atraktivno i ono, nego ono što je bilo ranije. Samo što je tada bilo mnogo ljepše jer je bila prirodnija.
A couple of decades ago, there were only a few fishermen's houses by the river. Over 700 houses have since been built on its shores, and Bojana is now tens of meters narrower. And that's just one reason why the sandy beaches that once adorned this island have started to disappear.
The area I'm standing now used to be a beachfront just a few years ago. And about 4 decades before that, shoreline used to stretch about 100 meters out. It was a beautiful sandy beach, a pearl of Montenegrin coast. And bit by bit, over the years, the sea swallowed almost 100 meters long coast.
As the sea ate up the beach meter by meter, barely anyone reacted. Available data says the beach has been eroding since the 1980s. Authorities began to respond only during a major erosion in 2017. It was also a time when a drought completely shut the Bojana River delta. For the first time ever, the river did not flow into the sea, and Ada Bojana was no longer an island. But Ivo says that out of sheer ignorance, authorities only speed up the erosion.
Poslije toga je počelo da se bagerima dubi, pa onda sa ovim refulerom i tako, ali nije pokazalo neku... Jeste, otvorilo se i da kažemo, ali od tada izvađene su velike količine pijeska. Korito je trebalo produbiti i sve, ali taj pijesak je trebalo odmah vratiti po plaži u more, jer taj pijesak, ja uvijek to kažem.
Local authorities say they have tried a number of ways to at least slow the erosion.
Mi kao firma godinama unazad pokušavali smo sa nekim ad hoc mjerama, da kažem, postavljanjem nekih šipova, vreća i tako dalje, da koliko toliko usporimo taj proces erozije, međutim nije se uspjelo puno sa tim, to je bilo sve kratkoga daha.
But the problem became a lot bigger after 2017, when the sea reached the resort and began to swallow the buildings. Experts hired from neighboring Serbia could only propose an interim solution to stop the sea with sandbags. They were placed on one side of the island, and while they did offer some protection, they created another problem on the other side. Italian experts then suggested protecting the coast with sand dunes. And while long-term forecasts are impossible, some say it's yet another quick fix.
The area is subsiding. How much is subsiding? We don't know. I think that it's important to have information of this, to have a clear view of the process working in that area. If the island is approximately at the sea level, you can reduce the erosion, but it will be flooded anyway.
Activists believe it's now an issue Ada Bojana cannot possibly solve alone.
Next year, maybe I won't be able to walk here with dry feet. That's what some experts predict. But anyway, one thing is absolutely certain. This island behind me will disappear 50 years from now if the two countries don't work together to protect this area.
Although Montenegro and Albania are yet to join forces to protect the coast, the Montenegrin side is convinced it's only a matter of time.
Mi smo još u prethodnom periodu putem već postojećih inicijativa kao što su konvencije koje smo potpisali ili saradnje već razgovarali sa albanskom stranom i poslali nekako odmah krajem avgusta, početkom septembra. Mi ćemo što provjeriti dokle se stiglo sa potencijalnim uspostavljanjem te radne grupe.
Many blame this situation on Albania and its construction of a hydroelectric plant on the Dream River, which all but stopped the supply of sediment to the Bojana River. The country says it's eager to help deal with the problem. But money seems to be an even bigger drawback.
It requires financial support from both countries, and we discussed maybe to apply for IPA CBC, for European funds, for GF, why not? Because both countries are eligible to apply. For both countries have not a proper financial support.
And while time is running out, experts say coastal erosion isn't just Montenegro's problem. A study by the World Bank warns that by the end of this century, only 1/3 of beaches around the world will be safe. and it suggests that the best strategy for all, including Ada Bojana, is to retreat. But that also faces political obstacles.
This kind of solution has not the benefit immediately. So you spend a lot of money to retreat, and the advantages you see will come with the next generations. And no politicians want to spend money to have results within 30, 40 years.
Despite the hurdles, Montenegro now has an opportunity to perhaps show the world how a retreat strategy could work. Mobile resorts, they can move away from the beach every few years. While bureaucracy, as well as a lack of money and quality research, delay a permanent solution, nature isn't waiting. But at least now, the red flag to save Ada Bojana has been raised. Mirjana Miladinović, TRT World, Ulcinj, Montenegro.
That's it for this week. Thanks for watching Across the Balkans. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.